All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the branding workshop here at Illinois Media School. I am your instructor, LaDonna Ray, and just those of you that don't know me, I am one of the instructors here by day that where I started off teaching RTB, but now I teach DMP virtually. So, with all of that, it doesn't matter what you're learning, what program you're in, you still need to know about branding. If you look in the cafeteria here at IMS, you'll see that there's a tile on the chalkboard that says start branding now. Not tomorrow, not later, not whenever, but now. So, just to point out a few things, there's some good housekeeping things to think about when you are branding yourself. Okay. A lot of people think that branding is a logo or a thought. Okay, so you got this logo and now that's your brand. Nope. I think that I am the best at what I do, so that is my brand. Nope. Branding is simply what people say about you. Okay, so you can brand yourself. You can be that family member that is known for being chaotic or peaceful. It's totally up to you. Or you can be that coworker that everyone goes to because they know that things are going to get handled. You can also brand yourself as constantly being late or never prepared. Which brand do you really want to have? So I'm going to share some slides with you. Let me just go ahead and share my screen and get on with it. Wait, that's not it. Share and share. Okay. All right, so branding. That name, that word rather, is used so loosely all over the place. Um, there are people out there that are brand imposters, or people that say that they're brand managers or brand creators, brand builders, brand consultants, or you have people that are out there saying that they are a brand. In a way, the latter is more true than anything. Everyone is a brand, but what kind of brand are you? Okay. But what is branding? Branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room, or what people say about your product when you're not around. Because technically speaking, if you were around, people would probably give you kudos or kiss you or you know what. But if you're not around and they still say good things about you, then chances are you have a good brand. Actively listening to our customers, staff, and vendors is a fantastic way to understand how your brand is being interpreted and the impact you're having in the community. So you may not realize that your share or stakeholders are your vendors, are the staff, are well, you know they're the customers, but they all are stakeholders. So if you have people that you buy from, for instance, this hat that I'm wearing, FBB, it stands for Fashion Bandit Boutique. I love this hat. It's different. It's got the pin in it. It's got the hooks. It looks a little rugged. I bought it from the designer himself. His name is Adonis Joven. Right? I met him over the weekend, paid $25 for the hat, and next thing you know, I saw everyone rocking this hat. And I know exactly where they got it from. But he is not necessarily knitting these hats in his basement. He has a provider that provides these particular knits and he puts his stamp on it. So, what are his vendors saying about working with him? That is part of the brand as well. All right. So, again, Jeff Bezos says your brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. Let's say you dropped your brand in the middle of the floor or on a table or left it there for people to gawk at, and you walked out of the room. What would people say about you? What would people say about your brand? Guess what? You are a part of your brand. If you have a terrible attitude and your product is boss, chances are your product is just having a terrible attitude. Yep. Now, there are four elements of branding. 4 elements of branding. Now, I know you're thinking, but there's more. These are the 4 key elements of branding. Number 1, brand identity. Number 2, brand image. Number 3, brand culture. And number 4, brand personality. Ooh. But what is brand identity? It's like, is it how people identify with my brand? Is it how I identify with my brand? It is how you want your brand to be perceived. It's important that you know what your brand identity is and what you want it to be. If you don't, how's anyone else supposed to know? Yeah, that's that part. So if you think your brand is about one thing and it's really about something else, chances are you're not using your brand properly. I always use the elevator as an example. If I was in the elevator with someone that was influential and they said, "What is your brand about?" And I stammer and I'm confused and I use all kinds of adjectives that don't make sense, they're going to eventually get off the elevator and forget about me. But if I give them something to sink their teeth into, then chances are they'll remember my brand, and that will be word of mouth to other people who will then remember my brand and support my brand. One way of establishing your brand identity is through content. Okay? Well, I read that on the picture here. But your mission, let's start there. Your mission is okay, I'm sorry. Your mission basically states why you're in business, why you're a brand. What was the reason you established your company in the first place? Okay? If you say to make money, to feed my kids, that's not going to be a very good mission because that's a very selfish mission. But if you say to end world hunger, now people will buy into it because they share your same values. They're not going to buy into feeding your kids because everybody doesn't share that same value. They want to feed their own kids. What is your company's goals? You need to know that. Company's goal or goals, okay? And consumers want to know what your mission is, and they don't want to hear that it's to make a profit. It says it right there in the text. It will reflect who you are as a company, and nobody wants to support a selfish person. You hear more about selfless people than selfish people. When you hear about the selfless people, it's more on the positive side. But when you hear about selfish people, it's more on the negative side. And you don't want to be the latter. Any questions? Just kidding. You want to establish your unique value and proposition. Okay, your unique value proposition should be as follows. Your unique value proposition is what sets you apart from your competitors. What makes you different? Like, why should I buy this hat versus a Fila hat or a Nike hat or some other hat or maybe the dollar store hat that has nothing on it? Why? Because this hat has character, and so does the designer that designed it. It's a statement of how you offer benefits it's a statement of how your offer benefits your customers, how you will meet the needs of your customers, and what makes your offer unique. Anybody can make a hat or buy one and say it's theirs, but what makes yours the one that I have to have? Every marketing campaign you run should align with your unique value proposition. So if you're running a marketing campaign that is just to chase a dollar and it's far away from your value proposition, chances are you're going to lose the people that you gained in a heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just saying. Create your brand's visual identity, okay? So the visual elements of your brand certainly factor into your brand identity. Just consider the logos and color palettes of some of the biggest companies out there. From Facebook's simple logo and use of the blue to McDonald's golden arch and yellow and red palette. A strong logo that is instantly recognizable is important, but so is choosing your colors. Different colors have different meanings, and the colors you choose can have a psychological impact on your audience as well. For example, many fast food restaurants use red and yellow because that combination of colors is thought to stimulate the appetite. To be honest with you, anything will stimulate my appetite at a certain hour. You can show me purple and I'm hungry. Just keep in mind that consistency is key. If you decide to use shades of blue in your logo and on your website, then you should use those same colors for your social media pages, email newsletters, and physical location as well. So don't just pick random colors. People won't know it's you. Increase your brand recognition. It's going to take some time for you to get your vision of your brand identity out to the masses. You'll want to generate awareness of your brand to do this in a variety of marketing efforts, such as building a website that emphasizes your mission and unique value proposition, creating content that is optimized for SEO. In case you don't know what SEO is, Google it. Search engine optimization is real. And if you're not utilizing it, you're simply making posts. Using social media to engage with consumers and to post your content and many more things. It's also vital that you make sure your mission, unique value proposition, and visual identity are consistent across all platforms. If not, it will end up hurting your brand identity because people won't be able to know if this is you or that's you. I think about one brand in particular that has a brand identity crisis, and that is BLM. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to get political, but Black Lives Matter, just because you slap Black Lives Matter on every event that took place that was supposedly racially charged, did not mean it came from Black Lives Matter. What it did was it created a branding nightmare, which also put them in the hot seat in many situations. All right, what about your brand image? What is that? Well, your brand image is very similar to your brand identity in that it deals with how your brand is perceived. However, whereas your brand identity is how you want your brand to be perceived, brand image is how your brand is actually perceived. So you have one is where you want it to be perceived one way, and the other where you're actually being perceived another way. If they don't align, you've got to make some changes. Consider your brand image as the reputation you currently have with the general public. Take, for example, United Airlines. Not long ago, they updated their brand design in an attempt to strengthen their brand identity as thoughtful, modern, and innovative as an airline. However, their brand identity and brand image are currently quite different from each other after numerous massive PR failures regarding their customer service. So they wanted to be stronger, more modern, innovative, but their customer service sucked. Womp womp. Don't let that be you. And don't think that it can't be you just because you're not on the scale of United Airlines. It starts somewhere. All right, a few ways to build and maintain a positive brand image. Oh, this ought to be fun. Spread your message via PR. See, I'm a publicist, and that's a part of the services that I offer in my marketing company. But being a publicist, my responsibility is not to make you famous. It's to actually create the narrative of your brand. So when you use public relations to spread your key message as well as relevant news concerning your company, now you're having reasons to put information out there about your company. Otherwise, you're just being salesy. You can do this through news outlets, trade publications, and even online blogs. Think about online blogs as your endorsers, someone who is writing about you because they want to tell everyone about you. Public relations will help you raise awareness of your brand and what you're doing, thereby helping to improve your brand image. Now, there's also bad PR too, which is when you have bad customer service or a terrible image on people's minds, you may have to call your publicist or public relations provider and say, hey, I need to clean this up. Yeah, that's called crisis management. Okay? Hopefully you won't have to do that, but if you do, give me a call. Establish a social presence. Now, I'm not talking about going to these $150 dinners or even buying a ticket at the theater. I'm talking about social media. It's an incredible and effective way to build your brand image, whether it's by sharing content with consumers, keeping consumers up to date on the latest news and product launches, spreading awareness of your message, and engaging with consumers on a personal level. Who has time for that? You do. In fact, if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. You can use social media to address negative comments as well. If you think about negative comments that are made on Google reviews or on Yelp, you always panic as a business when you get your first one. Oh, that's so cute. But the way to get rid of it, you can't click on it and delete it, and you don't want to reach out to the person that wrote it and say, please take it down. What you want to do is correct the situation and address the situation by saying, we do apologize that your experience was as described. Please give us a call so that we can attempt to rectify the situation. Never admit to your there being mold on the bread or bad customer service or someone not getting the product that they ordered, but always offer to rectify the situation on a more personal one-to-one environment. The other thing you can do is ask additional customers or consumers that support your brand to leave positive reviews, especially when you know that they have a smile on their face. Hey, you love us, we love you. Would you mind going to Google reviews and leaving us a review? Wow, that rhymed. And when they do, and you get at least, I don't know, there's one bad one, but then you get 20 on top of it, it shows that you have like evolved from that bad situation into a butterfly. And people are going to look at the most recent reviews first. Okay, and they may go back to the old ones that are bad, but as long as you address the bad ones and move on and get the good ones, you should be good because they're posted in reverse chronological order, meaning the last one posted is the first one showing in the list. All right. Um, your social presence, as it states here, is a good way to repair potential damage done to your brand image as a result of a poor customer experience by showing that you care, trying to correct the situation. I think I just said all of that without reading it. You also want to create high quality content. If you're taking pictures of fuzzy food or not so clear t-shirts or whatever your brand is, if you're taking terrible pictures or images, then it looks like that's how you get down. Yeah, I did say that. How you get down. But what you want to do is you want to use clear, concise images so that you're using high quality content that represents who you are and what you represent. Content will help to increase brand awareness by bringing in more web traffic. And we're talking about to your website. Hope you got one. However, it can also help to build your brand authority. By publishing content that is relevant to your company and to your audience, and that's of high quality, you'll become a trustworthy source of information, which in turn will help improve your reputation and increase brand trust. What this means is we're talking about cross-promoting and backlinks. So on your website, if you're referring to a website that's already reputable and what you're saying is true and based off of what they said, and you're putting their link in your website, that gives you credibility, boo. Yeah, remember that, along with those high quality images. Brand culture. I think that's number 4. Brand culture refers to your company's core values and how you set an example for those values. Businesses have always emphasized certain values. However, those values were often things like reliability and honesty. But values that are more values that are more equivalent to basic ethics. While those are important values to hold on to, more and more businesses have begun to taking moral stances as well as political stances in addition to generally accepting, I'm not reading this right because I don't need to read that. Here we go. More and more businesses are taking moral values because it's easy to say honesty, reliability. It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like reading a dating profile where you talk about all the good stuff. I want to get to the other stuff. Like, what are your morals? Like, do you want more kids? I'm sorry, we're talking about branding. But when it comes to branding, what is it about your brand that can really connect with the human race? That can connect with me, even. Is it that you care about certain values or certain things? That's what more and more companies are adapting to. These types of values feed into your brand's culture. Here's an example. Take Nike, for example. They've taken a strong social position by running commercials backing Colin Kaepernick and recently touting the importance of women's US soccer team's World Cup win. These are different stances. Do you realize that Colin was blackballed, as they still use, and I don't like using those words, because he took a knee? I mean, President Trump at the time said, throw him out of there. Anybody who takes a knee to the national anthem should be thrown out of the NFL. And that's exactly what the NFL did. And unfortunately, a great football player like Colin Kaepernick was tossed out because he believed in what was going on with his own culture, in his own community, in his own people. All right. These are branding efforts touting their championing of equality and has become a part of their brand culture. They said, you know what? We're strong enough to take a stand or a knee with Colin Kaepernick. So define your values. What are your values? Okay. So define exactly what your values are and how your company lives out those values. Don't be afraid of taking a stance if there's a particular stance that you want to take. Using the Nike example again, their backing of Kaepernick was considered controversial, and plenty of consumers did not agree with their position. However, those that did agree with their position became even more strongly aligned with the Nike's brand. You can't please everyone, but by sticking to your values, you'll be more likely to strengthen your relationship with many of your customers. Spread awareness of your values. Okay, we got these values. Now, how do you know we have them? Yeah. Let consumers know about your values by declaring them on your website or by encouraging discussion about your values on your social media. Publishing content that backs your values is an effective method as well. These are all strong points, people, and don't sleep on them. Don't feel like you have tomorrow to get started. Get started today. You want to ensure that your company reflects your values. You can't have good values over here and bad company values over there. You have to align because you are your company's billboard at all times. There's nothing consumers hate more than a hypocrite. Okay, so I would hate to be talking about how we care about clean water in Detroit, Flint, Michigan. Okay, and but yet we are not very conscious about it in other cities that we serve. It's just not a good thing. So you don't want to be a hypocrite. If you're flaunting your support for equal pay across social media and in your marketing efforts, then you better be practicing what you preach. Equal pay is equal pay. So if you're paying men more than the women, that's a problem. If you're paying women more than the men, that could be a problem too, because we shop a lot. Your brand culture is incredibly dependent on your ability to embrace your own values within your company. Hi, Chance. All right, finally, we've reached the brand personality. Now, I feel that I have a lot of personality, right? But what personality is my brand? You already know that I'm going to be raw and uncut. But how's my brand going to be looked at? Well, my brand is also raw and uncut. That is my social media presence, my shows, my podcast, all of those things. However, I have two brands that I'm managing. I have my business brand, which is LaDonna Ray Consulting, and then I have LaDonna Ray Shows. LaDonna Ray Shows are going to be all the things that I mentioned. LaDonna Ray Consulting gets down to business. We don't have time to play. Okay? So your brand personality refers to the human characteristics that your company has. Developing a brand personality is vital to to connecting with your audience on an emotional level and for making your brand relatable. So people want to relate to humans. Some people are antisocial, and some people still need to hear a heartbeat. So you want to make sure that the heartbeat of your business is reflective of what you want people to feel when they connect with you. Learn who your audience is. Like, who are you talking to? Okay. Who is your audience? Understanding your audience is something that you need to do from the very beginning. If you don't understand who your audience is, you could be talking all kind of different ways. Because the way I speak to my mother might be different than the way I speak to my children. It's an important step in building your brand identity as well. However, it's particularly important when it comes to developing your brand personality. The way you present yourself and the way that you communicate should reflect not only who the audience is, but what they expect. So keep that in mind. For example, if you have a younger audience, then a dry formal tone may not resonate with them. Yeah, that part. However, if your audience is older, use younger slang and current pop culture references. I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. However, if your audience is older, using younger slang and current pop culture references may go over their heads. Now, that is true if they are all old fogies. I'm sorry, I did say that. Like myself, I know pop culture because I have young children, but what if I didn't? I'd probably be stuck in the world of, I don't know, Luther Vandross, Betty White, uh, and the list goes on. But because I've inserted myself in teaching at Illinois Media School where there are young adults, I've had to get with it on phone now. I think that's what they say. All right. Engage with your audience. While you get your personality across in the content you write, it's easier to do through engaging with people. So let me talk that out instead of reading it. While you can get your personality across in the content you write, it's easier to do through engaging with people. Like engaging with people is so important. Es muy importante, right? Because the people that are following you, reading your information, they want to be recognized. The shout outs only go so far, but actually engaging with them and addressing their concerns, that's when they feel connected to you. It's why using social media is so important. Your entire audience sees your interactions and it helps establish your personality a certain way. For example, Wendy's has a reputation for having a playful personality because of their use of humor and the pretend feuds and that they get into with other brands on Twitter. Pretend feuds. So that sounds familiar. Like on my Toasting While Tipping show with Boss Lady Plus Two, we pretend to feud or we pretend to banter, but we actually love each other. We are not really feuding. I probably shouldn't have told you that because then you're going to know that we're just faking it. But we're not faking it. It's part of the show. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, moving on. Be consistent in tone. The last thing you want to be is proper on one platform and urban on the other and confused on another and humorous on another. Oh my God, who is this today? If you're going to be funny and informal on one platform, you need to make sure that the personality carries over to all the platforms you use, both online and offline. If you're inconsistent, it will hurt your ability to develop a cohesive brand personality, which will only confuse your audience and create distrust. I'm just saying. All right, so we are at the conclusion of our branding workshop. But I want you to answer me this. Who are you? Decide who you are and what you stand for. At the core of your brand, it should be a reflection of you and your values. What are you known for? I already know what I'm known for. I make people laugh and I make people learn. I also make people love. I kind of think I'm a goddess, but that's another show or a workshop. All right. So if you don't have any questions, let's see if we have any questions out there. No questions out there. Nope, not one. Well, I'm your instructor, LaDonna Ray at Illinois Media School. Um, I am literally here at Illinois Media School. I just have a fake background so that it won't be distracting with people walking by. If you need any questions answered, feel free to reach out to me on Teams. Just look for LaDonna Ray. And you can follow me on YouTube if you want to see more of that consistent humor that I talked about. Yeah. All right. I'll see you next time on the next go round. I'm LaDonna Ray, signing off for now. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Branding. Peace.